you're dealing with a program that's in transition from one coach to another, but not only that, from coach to a coach to another coach.
Right.
In what you pick up, what kind of vibes you pick up from meeting these guys, is it doubly difficult because it's a second transition in a year, or exponentially more difficult, or is that much of a factor?
Well, I can't sit here and say that the transitions have had no effect on the program. I mean, certainly they have. It's had an effect on recruiting. It's had an effect on attrition. Okay, that's facts, and it's always going to be that way. I also think that players are resilient, and good players. You know, I had a great meeting with Eric Berry yesterday. I mean, it's a classic example of how great players think. Did he want the transition? Of course not. I mean, he liked Coach Fulmer, all right, but that's what life dealt with, handed him, and he said, I made the best of what I had, and I braced the next staff, and he ended up having a great season. And so players are resilient, especially good players, especially good players. It doesn't matter who comes in and coaches them. They're going to work their tails off, and they're going to buy into the program, and they're going to go. So the answer is, yes, it's had an impact, and it certainly hadn't helped us, but I'm not concerned about the bulk of our team. You know, I think that's going to come in time, though, and you're going to have to ask them that. I don't know what they think of me right now. I hadn't really asked. You know, I don't do a public opinion poll every day on the team. You know, did I do all right today, guys? I mean, they'll figure that out in time.
Derek, in terms of former players going through the proper channels, can you kind of tell us what that means?
This is how difficult it is. Hey, Conridge, I want to come to practice today. Okay. And we act like that's, you know, getting an act of Congress. I'd like to know who's coming. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't know a lot of the former players. So I'd like to know in advance, hey, so-and-so is going to be here so I can go shake his hand, meet him, and talk to him. I don't know why that's so unreasonable.
What about
what's unreasonable? What am I missing? Is there some tradition here that I'm missing on this?
I don't know if it's a tradition. I've talked to some former players who are concerned that there's not the open door policy that they've had.
Why are they concerned about that? It's because of things that are getting said that did not come from me.
Well, do they call every time, or is there an open door policy? I mean, I talked to one who...
How confusing is this? I want to come to practice. Okay. Bleh. I mean, that's when you go to somebody's house, what do? You don't just walk in. You go, hey, Jimmy, I'm going to come over today. Boom. Right? I mean, what's so hard about that? We try to create an issue that isn't there.
But what about coming in just the facility? What about seeing, some told me they even talk to the medical staff before they go see a doctor, coming in and working out in the weight room.
Who's someone? Who are these someones? They say what now?
They've said that there's been a real open door policy, and they're just wondering how much it changes.
Nothing's changed.
So they can still come in at any time?
Walk into the building, yeah. And do what? I don't know what you mean. What are they going to do, just walk in and look around?
Sure. I mean, they've walked in, worked out.
Yeah.
One told me last night that he sees the medical staff before he sees his own doctor.
It's great. Come on. Well, I love they're part of the family. They're part of the family. But, you know, like my brother, he lives in Atlanta. He's a part of my family. But he doesn't drive up to Knoxville and open up my door. He goes, hey, Derek, I'm coming to Knoxville tomorrow. Okay, see ya. Boom. I mean, it's basic human interaction. That's all it is. That's all it is. It doesn't mean I'm excluding my brother because I'd like him to call me before he comes to Knoxville.
So when you say go to the channels, you're talking about more formal stuff like practice and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brent. Coach, you did talk a little bit about sort of your staff in general.
I'm not upset, guys. I hope y'all don't think I am. I just get a kick out of some of this stuff.
Your staff, your current staff, talk a little bit about how you bonded. I mean, it's a bunch of new faces blending together for the first time. What have you guys done to bond? Is that important, or is it just you get in the room and watch film and coaches are coaches and you go coach?
Yeah. I guess that goes back to what is team building, you know, and I don't think you build a team by holding hands and singing Kumbaya, okay? I just don't. I think you build closeness and togetherness when it gets a little thick, to see how people respond. And so our team building will come when it gets thick. I mean, right now, we're just really, we have good working relationship, and you're really learning everybody's kind of quirks and, you know, idiosyncrasies and all that, and forming a relationship, and they're learning about me, you know, what my expectations are. The good news is, even though we hadn't been together, I've been with a lot of them. I mean, at least a couple of years. And so, you know, probably the biggest thing is going to be me and Justin and Jim getting on the same page on some things, and that's going to take time. And most of it's philosophy. But you know what? They're all very intelligent people. They're all very professional people, and they're all very respectful people. And when you have intelligent, professional, respectful people working together, you can iron out any differences, because we're going to disagree, but we're not going to be disagreeable. And I think time will show that. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big, you know, take the coaches on a canoe trip. So I mean, listen, I'll look at those guys enough. I want to be with my family when I go on a canoe trip. I mean, we're together 15 hours a day in a room, you know. Enough. Let me breathe. You know, when we went through the goals for the spring, number one was what? Check your notes. Improve fundamentally at every position. So if that's the number one goal, then certainly we're going to structure practice so we get better at fundamentals. It's going to be important.
Can you give us some insight into why you chose Justin Wilcox as your defensive coordinator, and also did you consider Lance Thompson at all?
Lance is certainly very capable, and Lance is going to be a coordinator one day, but there were a lot of great candidates interested in his job, and Justin, the reason I chose Justin, there's a lot of reasons. One is I played against him for 3 years, and I always say your best resume is your film. It is. I mean, a guy can blow you away on the board, and then you turn on the film, and his players ain't really doing what he just drew up. And Justin's players played great defense for 3 years. I think one of the myths of Boise is that they've won all these games on offense, and you look at their defensive stats and you're going, holy smokes.
They gave up a lot of points, though. I think in 6+ games they gave up 20+, and in 4 of those 30. That's
pretty good reporting. What was their average per game points?
13.
13 a game. Well, if we come out of here 13 a game, I'm gonna be pretty happy. So anyway, I was real impressed with how his defense is played. And I was more impressed with the person. More impressed with the person when I went to meet with him. And I know Chris Peterson very well, who I have just a tremendous amount of respect for. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football, and he's probably as good a person as anybody I've ever been around. And he has a tremendous amount of respect for Justin, and that means a lot to me. So.
And did his age play any kind of, were you worried about how young he was at all?
No, not at all. We won a national championship, and Will was, I think, how many years ago was that? 6? I think Will was 29 or 30.
2003.
Yeah. I think Will was 29 or 30. Kirby won one this year. How old is he?
Young, 30s.
Yeah, so I actually said that I thought that was a plus.
Any players that had left the program under the previous staff, Brandon Warren, Preston Bailey, any of those that left, any chance of any players returning that had left the program?
I don't know. I mean, nobody's ever approached me wanting to return, so.
Okay. All right. Secondly, there have been coaches, whether it's football, basketball, other sports, that try to get out and beat the drums and sell season tickets, talk to civic clubs and all that type thing. Do you feel an obligation in trying to sell tickets, of getting out there and meeting with people to try to?
Well, I feel an obligation to connect with the community and the fan base. Absolutely. I think, and in fact, it's why I like college a lot better than my experience in the NFL, because there is a connection with the community leaders, the business leaders, government leaders, fans. There's a true connection with it, and I like that. I embrace it. I also think that you can get too caught up in that and you neglect your team and recruiting, and the program suffers because of it. So probably one of my biggest challenges here is being able to balance all of that, because it is new, you know. And I had a meeting with the senior administrative staff and Mike about it, that we have to have some system that I'm able to reach out and be with people over a period of time without neglecting what my responsibilities are for the team and recruiting. And I think time will sort through all that. You can't please everybody all the time. You have to turn down a lot of requests. But hopefully over the course of 2 or 3 years, you're making your mark on where you need to make it.